The grand chamber of the Galactic Council thrummed with anxious energy. Delegates from 47 distinct species occupied their designated seats, their diverse forms blending into a vivid tapestry of scales, fur, feathers, and other peculiar traits. The emergency session had been convened abruptly, and everyone was eager to understand the cause. Ambassador Kale of the Altari Federation stood at the central podium. His usually serene blue complexion appeared pale today, and his calm demeanor was visibly shaken. The Altari were renowned across the galaxy as peaceful explorers, always keen to forge new alliances among the stars. Yet now, Kale looked as if he had witnessed a nightmare. "Fellow council members," Kale began, his voice clear through the translation devices, "I come before you with urgent news. Our exploration fleet has discovered a new species on the galaxy's outer rim. They call themselves humans, and their homeworld is named Earth." A ripple of whispers swept through the assembly. New species were always a thrilling revelation. The galaxy was immense, and encounters with intelligent life remained rare and extraordinary. Most delegates leaned forward, intrigued. General Vex of the Draonis Empire rose from his seat. The towering reptilian warrior was nearly twice the height of many others in the chamber. His crimson scales gleamed beneath the lights, and his yellow eyes locked onto Kale with sharp interest. "A new species means new territory," Vex rumbled deeply. "New resources, new worlds to incorporate into the Empire. This is excellent news." Several representatives nodded in agreement. The Draonis Empire governed 50 star systems and sought constant expansion. Their military was unrivaled, and they had never suffered defeat. But Kale shook his head vehemently. "No, General, you do not understand. These humans are unlike any beings we have encountered. They are dangerous in unprecedented ways." Laughter erupted from the Draconi section. Vex's officers found the claim amusing. The Altari were known for their caution, but this warning seemed excessive even by their standards. "Dangerous?" Vex asked, still chuckling. "Ambassador, with all due respect, your people see threats where none exist. What could one primitive species possibly do to endanger the mighty Draonis Empire?" Kale's hands trembled as he activated the holographic display above the podium. Images of a blue and green planet materialized, showing continents and oceans bearing striking resemblance to many other inhabited worlds. "Let me explain what we discovered," Kale said quietly. "Earth is a beautiful planet, abundant in resources and ideal for life. When our ships approached, we expected a peaceful civilization, likely in its infancy. But the images tell a different story." The display shifted to reveal human cities, their towering skyscrapers reaching skyward, vehicles cruising on paved roads, and countless lights flickering in the night. "They have achieved basic spaceflight," Kale continued. "They maintain small colonies on their moon and nearby planets. By all appearances, they resembled any other developing species. So, we initiated contact." Following standard peaceful protocols, the gathered delegates watched attentively. First contact procedures were well established. The Altari were masters of them, having successfully introduced dozens of species to galactic society. But what happened next shattered everything we believed about warfare, Kale said, his voice lowering almost to a whisper. "When we landed on Earth to meet their leaders, they welcomed us. They were curious, friendly, eager to learn about the galaxy beyond their world. We spent months with them, studying their culture and exchanging knowledge." General Vex appeared unimpressed. "This all sounds perfectly normal, Ambassador. Where is this danger you speak of?" Kale's gaze locked with the general's, carrying a weight that made even the formidable Draonis warrior hesitate. "The danger, General, lies in their history. While learning about human culture, we uncovered something terrifying. These beings have never known true peace. Throughout their entire recorded history, they have been at war." "Many species have violent pasts," interrupted Commander Zeri. of the hegemony. We all evolved from predators. What makes humans special? Because they never stopped, Kale replied. Some found peace through diplomacy, others through conquest or exhaustion. But humans? They have been fighting among themselves for over 5,000 years without a single decade of uninterrupted global peace. The chamber fell into uneasy silence as representatives shifted uncomfortably. Kale continued. They fought with sticks and stones, metal swords and wooden shields. They wielded gunpowder weapons and mechanical devices. They even used arms capable of splitting atoms and annihilating entire cities within seconds. The holographic display shifted, showing scenes from human history. Ancient battles with thousands clashing bronze weapons. Armored medieval knights charging across fields. Modern soldiers firing advanced rifles from trenches. And finally, mushroom. Clouds from nuclear detonations. They have weaponized everything, Kale said, his voice tinged with a mix of awe and horror. Their music, their art, even their very words could be turned into weapons. They had created poisons capable of killing millions, diseases that could wipe out entire populations, and bombs powerful enough to fracture planetary crusts. General Vex leaned forward, suddenly intrigued. Impressive weapons for primitives. But weapons can be countered. Numbers can overwhelm any defense. You still don't understand, Kale said urgently. It's not their weapons that make them dangerous. It's their minds. They think about war differently than we do. The ambassador activated another set of images. These showed human military academies where young humans studied the art of warfare. We study war so we can avoid it, Kale explained. Humans study war to perfect it. They have entire schools devoted solely to the science of combat. They analyze every battle they've ever fought, learning from victories and defeats alike. They write books on strategy thousands of years old that remain essential texts. They create simulations of battles that never occurred just to explore new tactics. They turn warfare into mathematics, calculating exactly how to maximize destruction with minimal resources. The chamber was utterly silent now. Even General Vex had stopped laughing. But perhaps most terrifying of all, Kale continued, is that they know when to stop. Despite possessing the power to annihilate their own world many times over, they choose restraint. They are not mindless killers or savages. They are intelligent, calculating warriors who understand the true cost of war better than anyone in the galaxy. Kale fixed his gaze on General Vex. When our cultural exchange concluded, I asked, their military leaders, what would happen if Earth were attacked? Do you know what they told me? The general shook his head. They said nothing. Waiting. They would not merely defend themselves. They would hunt down every ship, every base, every world belonging to their attackers. They would dismantle their enemy's entire civilization, piece by piece until nothing remained but ashes and regret. Kale's voice sharpened. And then, General, they smiled. The warning hung in the air like a tangible presence, chilling every being in the Great Hall. 3 days after Ambassador Kale's warning, the Draconis Empire convened its war council. The vast chamber deep within their homeworld was hewn from black stone illuminated by harsh red crystals that cast jagged shadows across the walls. Around a circular table sat the Empire's most formidable military leaders. Emperor Thrax dominated the room from his throne-like seat. The ancient ruler was the largest Draconis ever seen, his dark red scales scarred from countless battles. His yellow eyes blazed with ambition as he studied the holographic star map floating above the table. So, Thrax rumbled, voice grinding like stone, the Altari fear these humans. They speak of danger and destruction. He laughed, a sound like crushing rocks. The same Altari who surrender at the first sign of conflict. The same weaklings who beg for peace when we take their worlds. General Vex stood at attention beside the table. My Emperor, I witnessed Kale's presentation myself. The ambassador seemed genuinely frightened. Perhaps we should investigate further before taking action. Thrax's eyes narrowed dangerously. Are you suggesting the mighty Draconis Empire cower before rumors and ghost stories? Of course not, my lord, Vex replied quickly. But the Altari are excellent. Scouts, and their information is usually accurate. Their reports on military strength, however, are worthless. Admiral Rex interrupted from across the table. The naval commander was younger than most present, but boasted an impeccable record, having conquered 12 star systems. For the Empire, without losing a single major battle, Rex continued, activating his own holographic display. Look at the facts. The human homeworld, Earth, lay isolated on the galaxy's outer rim. They had barely achieved faster-than-light travel. Intelligence indicated small mining operations on nearby asteroids and a tiny research station on their moon. The display showed images captured by long-range Draconis spy probes. Human spacecraft appeared primitive compared to Empire vessels. Their largest ships were clearly built for cargo transport, not warfare. Their technology lagged at least 200 years behind ours, Rex explained. They used chemical rockets for most space travel. Their weapons relied mostly on projectile systems rather than energy weapons. They lacked proper shield technology altogether. Emperor. Thrax leaned forward with interest. What about their planetary defenses? Minimal, Rex answered confidently. A few orbital platforms around Earth itself, but nothing that could stop a full invasion fleet. Their military seems focused on ground forces rather than space combat. Commander Drex, leader of the Empire's ground forces, snorted in amusement. Ground forces? How primitive! Do they still fight with swords and spears? Mostly projectile weapons, Rex replied. Chemical explosives, very basic compared to our plasma cannons and energy shields. Their soldiers wear simple armor that wouldn't stop even our weakest weapons. The War Council deliberated for hours, analyzing every piece of intelligence about humanity. The more they learned, the more confident they became. Humans appeared, exactly as they seemed, a young species taking its first steps into the galaxy. What about their population? Asked General Z, the Empire's strategic planner. Approximately 8 billion on their homeworld, Rex responded. Perhaps another million scattered across small colonies, a decent population for slave labor after conquest. Thrax smiled, baring rows of sharp teeth. And their resources? Abundant, Rex said eagerly. Earth is rich in metals, water, and organic compounds. The system contains several gas giants perfect for fuel extraction, and the asteroid belt holds enough rare minerals to supply our shipyards for decades. The Emperor stood slowly, his massive form casting shadows throughout the chamber. Tell me, Admiral, how long would it take to conquer this human system? Rex did not hesitate. With a proper fleet, my lord, 2 weeks. Perhaps 3 if they hide among asteroids. But they have nowhere to run, no allies to call for help, and no technology capable of threatening our ships. And what size fleet would you need? 300 ships should be more than sufficient, my Emperor. Capital ships for orbital bombardment, carriers for fighter support, and troop transports for ground occupation. A standard conquest formation. Thrax walked to the star map, studying Earth's location. It was isolated, far from major trade, routes, or allied civilizations, the perfect target for expansion. The Altari spoke of human history, General Vex said cautiously. Their wars and weapons primitive, conflicts between primitive peoples, Thrax dismissed him. Every species fights before it learns civilization. The strong survive, the weak serve. It is the natural order. But my lord, Vex pressed, Kale seemed to believe their experience makes them dangerous. Thrax turned to face his general. Vex immediately lowered his eyes in submission. Are you questioning my judgment, General? Never, my Emperor. I merely suggest caution. Caution is for the weak, Thrax declared. The Draconis Empire was built through strength and decisive action. We have conquered 50 star systems and defeated species with technology far superior to these humans. We have never lost a war." The Emperor returned to his throne, decision made. Admiral Rex, assemble the conquest fleet. General Vex, prepare ground forces for occupation duties. Commander Drex, ready the slave processing centers. "My lord," Rex said eagerly, "shall I inform the Galactic Council of our intentions?" "Standard protocol requires it," Vex added. Thrax laughed harshly. "Since when does the Empire ask permission to expand? The humans are not council members. They have no treaties or protections. They are free territory. Waiting to be claimed, the War Council erupted in approving, growls and battle cries. The Draconis had not conducted a proper conquest in over a year, and the warriors were eager for action. "Besides," Thrax continued, "the Council is full of weak species like the Altari. They would waste months debating and negotiating. By the time they decide, Earth will already be flying our flag." Within hours, orders spread across the Draconis Empire. Shipyards worked overtime preparing vessels for war. Weapons were loaded, troops briefed, and supply chains organized. The machinery of conquest began to turn. Admiral Rex stood on the bridge of his flagship, the massive dreadnought Empire's Wrath. Through the viewport, he could see the assembled fleet, 300 ships of various sizes, from nimble fighters to planet-killing battleships. It was enough firepower to reduce entire worlds to ash. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "the fleet is ready for departure." "Excellent," Rex replied. "Set course for the Sol system, maximum speed." As the Draconis War fleet engaged their faster-than-light drives and vanished into hyperspace en route to Earth, none noticed the small Altari scout ship silently monitoring their preparations. Ambassador Kale watched their departure with growing dread. His warnings to the Council had failed. His direct appeals to the Emperor were ignored. Now the galaxy's most powerful military force was heading toward a world they didn't understand. Kale desperately tried to send a warning message to Earth, but Draconis jamming technology blocked all communications to the Sol system. The humans would face invasion alone, with no warning of what was coming. As his ship jumped to hyperspace, racing to alert the Galactic Council, Kale could only hope his fears were wrong. Perhaps the humans were just another primitive species, after all. Perhaps the Draconis would win another easy victory. But deep in his heart, the ambassador knew better. The galaxy was about to learn why humans smiled when they talked about war. The Draconis war fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system like a cloud of metal death. 300 ships of various sizes spread across the darkness, their hulls gleaming with weapon ports and armor plating. Admiral Rex stood on the bridge of his flagship, studying tactical displays with satisfaction. "Report," he commanded. "His bridge crew. Long-range scanners show minimal activity around the third planet," his sensor officer replied. Several small orbital stations, a few dozen ships moving between inner planets. No major defensive installations detected. "Just as our intelligence predicted," Rex said with a smile. "These humans are even more primitive than expected. Signal the fleet to assume attack formation." The massive Draconis ships began moving into standard conquest patterns. Heavy battleships formed the front line, their plasma cannons charging for planetary bombardment. Carrier vessels released, swarms of fighter craft buzzing around like angry insects. Troop transports hung back, waiting for bombardment to clear resistance. "Admiral," the communications officer reported, "we are receiving a transmission from the human vessels." "How many ships are they sending to meet us?" Rex asked, expecting news of a desperate evacuation fleet or a small militia force. 37 ships, sir. They appear to be converted civilian vessels, cargo haulers, mining ships, and what looks like a passenger transport." Rex laughed so hard he nearly fell from his command chair. He wiped tears from his yellow eyes. 37 ships against our 300? These humans are either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. The human fleet approached slowly, their ships looking like scrap metal beside the sleek Draconis war vessels. The largest human ship was barely 1/10 the size of Rex's flagship. Most were much smaller. "Sir, they are requesting communication," the communications officer reported. "Put them through," Rex said, still chuckling. "I want to hear what these primitives have to say before we destroy them." The main screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of a human vessel. A man in a simple military uniform sat in the captain's chair, calm and alert. His name tag read, Captain Blake. "This is Admiral Rex of the Draconis Empire," Rex announced proudly. "I am here to claim this system for the Empire. You will surrender immediately and your deaths will be quick." Captain Blake studied the Admiral for a moment, then replied steadily, "This is Captain Blake of the Earth Defense Force. You have entered our territory without permission and with obvious hostile intent. You have exactly 10 minutes to leave our system, or we will be forced to defend ourselves." The Draconis bridge crew erupted in laughter. Even Rex's most serious officers found the humans' words amusing. "Defend yourselves?" Rex asked, still smiling. "Captain, I have 300 warships. You have 37 cargo vessels. Do you understand?" "Mathematics." Blake's expression remained steady. "Admiral, we tried peace once. It didn't end well for those who broke it. You now have 9 minutes and 30 seconds. Rex's amusement twisted into anger. "I will enjoy watching your primitive world burn." 8 minutes, Blake replied calmly before cutting the communication. Rex turned to his weapons officer. "Target their flagship. One shot from our main cannon should be enough to show them the futility of resistance." "Firing main plasma cannon," the weapons officer reported. A brilliant beam of energy lanced out from the Draconis flagship, powerful enough to melt the armor of any known vessel. It struck Blake's ship dead center. The human ship's hull glowed white-hot for a moment, then something impossible happened. Instead of exploding or melting, the ship absorbed the energy and continued moving forward as if nothing occurred. "What?" Rex stared at his tactical display, baffled. "How is their ship still intact?" "Unknown, sir," the weapons officer replied, panic creeping into his voice. "Energy signature shows a direct hit, but no visible damage." Fire again. All. Forward batteries. Multiple energy beams struck the human fleet, but the result was the same. The ships seemed to shrug off weapons capable of destroying cities. "Sir," the sensor officer called urgently, "the human ships are accelerating and moving into attack formation." Rex watched in disbelief as the small human fleet spread out and advanced on his massive armada. Their movement seemed random yet perfectly coordinated. "All ships, open fire," Rex commanded. The Draconis fleet unleashed everything: plasma cannons, energy torpedoes, particle beams, filling space with deadly light. But the human ships dodged and weaved as if anticipating every shot. Then the humans fired back. What came? From their ships were not energy weapons or advanced missiles, but simple chunks of metal accelerated to incredible speeds. When these primitive projectiles struck Draconis vessels, they tore through shields and armor like paper. "Impossible!" Rex shouted as he watched 3 battleships torn apart by what appeared to be glorified bullets. "How are they penetrating our shields?" "Sir," his science officer replied in terror, "those projectiles are moving at significant fractions of light speed. At those velocities, mass becomes irrelevant. They hit us with the force of small stars." The battle turned into a nightmare for the Draconi. Their superior numbers meant nothing when human ships moved like ghosts, appearing where least expected. Their advanced weapons were useless against enemies who seemed to predict every attack. Worse still, the humans fought with coordination defying explanation. When one ship was damaged, others immediately moved to protect it. When Draconis vessels, grouped for defense, human ships struck from impossible angles at weak points. "Admiral!" his tactical officer screamed. "The humans are using their own ships as weapons." Rex looked up to see a smaller human vessel accelerating directly toward his flagship. Its engines glowed white-hot as it gained speed. Evasive maneuvers, Rex ordered, but it was too late. The human ship struck the Draconis flagship at tremendous velocity, but instead of a simple collision, something far worse occurred. The human vessel exploded on impact, turning itself into a directed nuclear blast that tore through the flagship's hull like tissue paper. Emergency alarms blared throughout the bridge as atmosphere rushed out through massive hull breaches. Half of Rex's crew were dead or dying, and his mighty flagship lay crippled. "Retreat!" Rex gasped through his emergency breathing mask. "All ships, retreat to hyperspace." The surviving Draconis vessels fled in panic, leaving behind the wreckage of 75 ships, a quarter of their entire fleet destroyed in less than 30 minutes. As the Draconis fleet jumped to hyperspace, Captain Blake's voice reached them on an open channel. "You had your chance to leave peacefully. Tell your Emperor that if he wants Earth, he'll have to come and take it himself. We'll be waiting, in the silence of space." The human fleet regrouped around their damaged vessels, already beginning repairs. They had fought the most powerful military force in the galaxy, and won decisively. The war had begun, and the Draconis Empire had just learned its first lesson about underestimating humans. Admiral Rex returned to the Draconis homeworld in shame. His once mighty flagship limped into port with massive hull breaches and half its crew dead. The sight of the defeated fleet shocked the entire empire. Never before had Draconis forces suffered such devastating losses. Emperor Thrax received the Admiral in the throne room, his yellow eyes burning with rage. The massive ruler's claws scraped against his stone throne as he listened to the battle report. 75 ships destroyed, Thrax repeated slowly, his voice grinding like metal. A quarter of our invasion fleet defeated by 37 primitive vessels. "My Emperor," Rex said, kneeling before the throne, "these humans fight unlike any enemy we have faced. Their weapons are crude but effective, their tactics unpredictable. They seem to know exactly what we will do before we do it." "Excuses!" Thrax roared, standing to his full towering height. "The Draconis Empire does not lose battles to primitives. You will return with the full battle fleet, every ship. We have. Crush these humans completely within days." The Empire mobilized its entire military force. 800 warships gathered in space above the Draconis homeworld, the largest fleet ever assembled. General Vex commanded the ground forces, while Admiral Rex led the space battle groups. "We will not underestimate the humans again. This time, we take no chances," Thrax declared at the final War Council. "Bombard every human world from orbit. Turn their planets to glass. Leave nothing alive." The massive armada jumped to hyperspace, heading for Earth with enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. But this time, the humans were ready. Earth's defense force had grown during the month between battles. The 37 ships that fought the first engagement had become over 200 vessels. More importantly, these were no longer converted civilian craft. They were purpose-built warships designed specifically to kill Draconis. Captain Blake stood on the bridge of the new flagship Humanity's Resolve. The vessel looked nothing like the cargo hauler he had commanded in the first battle. This ship was sleek, deadly, and covered in weapon systems the Draconis had never seen before. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "long-range sensors detect the Draconis fleet. 800 ships, all military class." 800, Blake mused. "They're serious this time." "Signal the fleet to assume defensive positions around Earth and activate the orbital platforms." What the Draconis scouts had missed during reconnaissance were the massive weapon platforms humanity had built in Earth's shadow, disguised as asteroids and space debris. These installations contained humanity's most devastating weapons. When the Draconis fleet arrived, they found not 37 ships but a coordinated defense network spanning the entire solar system. Human vessels moved in perfect formation, while hidden platforms powered up weapons glowing with dangerous energy. "All ships, attack!" Admiral Rex commanded, determined not to repeat his previous failure. Overwhelmed by numbers, the Draonis fleet charged forward like an avalanche of metal and fire. But as they entered the inner solar system, they discovered the humans had learned. From the first battle, the space around Earth erupted in explosions as hidden mines detonated against Draonis hulls. These were not random blasts. Each was precisely timed and positioned to cause maximum damage. The humans had turned the vacuum of space itself into a weapon. "Impossible!" Rex shouted, watching dozens of his ships torn apart by traps he never saw coming. How did they mine an entire star system in 1 month? His science officer studied the tactical displays with growing horror. "Admiral, these are not simple mines," the science officer continued. "Each explosion is coordinated with the others. The humans have calculated exact blast patterns needed to destroy our formations. The human fleet attacked while the Draconis were still reeling from the minefield. But this time, the humans did not rely on converted cargo ships and desperate tactics. They fought with military precision that made the Draconis look like amateurs. Human vessels moved in groups of 3, each covering the other's weaknesses. When Draconis ships tried to surround them, the humans scattered and regrouped instantly. When the aliens attempted to retreat, human ships appeared behind them as if predicting their movements. "How are they everywhere at once?" General Vex demanded from his command ship. "It's as if they know our battle plans before we make them." The truth was more disturbing. The humans had studied every recorded Draconis battle of the past century. They knew exactly how the Empire fought, what tactics they used, and how they would respond in any situation. The Draconis military doctrine, which had conquered 50 worlds, was completely predictable to human strategists. But the real horror came when Draconis forces tried to land on human colonies. The Empire had planned to use their superior ground forces to capture human worlds. But they found every human settlement had become a fortress. On Mars, Draconis troops landed to find empty cities that turned into death traps. Every building was booby-trapped, every street a kill zone, and every human civilian appeared to be a trained soldier. The red planet became a graveyard for Draconis ground forces. "Sir," Commander Drex reported from the surface, panic in his voice. "The humans have disappeared. The entire population vanished, but they left behind thousands of automated weapons. The cities are killing our troops without any defenders present. On Europa, the ice moon, human mining colonies proved even more dangerous. The humans used their knowledge of the moon's unstable ice sheets to create massive traps. When Draconis forces landed, entire sections of the surface collapsed, swallowing hundreds of troops in freezing water. But most disturbing was what happened on the asteroid belt mining stations. The humans did not fight to defend them. Instead, they evacuated completely, leaving behind what appeared to be normal mining equipment. When Draconis forces occupied the stations, they discovered too late that the mining equipment had been converted into weapons. Asteroid processing plants became mass drivers, firing chunks of rock at near light speed toward Draonis ships. The aliens found themselves under bombardment from their own captured positions. They had turned everything into a weapon. Rex screamed as another battleship was destroyed by what had once been a simple ore processor. Their mining equipment, their construction tools, even their waste disposal systems are trying to kill us. The war the Draconis expected to win in days dragged on for months. Every victory came at a terrible cost, and the humans adapted to every tactic faster than seemed possible. Worse still, captured Draconis technology began appearing in human hands, improved and turned against its original creators. "Admiral," his intelligence officer reported during one particularly bad week, "the humans have somehow copied our shield technology and made it better. Their new ships are completely immune to our plasma weapons." "How is that possible?" Rex demanded. "We only lost those ships 3 days ago." "Unknown, sir. But they're also using our own communication frequencies to coordinate attacks. They appear to understand our technology better than we do." As the Draconis fleet slowly retreated toward the outer solar system, Having lost over half their ships, Admiral Rex finally understood what Ambassador Kale had tried to warn them about. The humans were not just defending their home, they were learning, adapting and evolving tactics with every battle. The Draconis Empire, which had never lost a war, was being systematically dismantled by an enemy who treated warfare like a science. 6 months after the war began, the remnants of the Draconis fleet limped back toward their home system. Admiral Rex commanded only 150 ships from the original 800 that attacked Earth. His once proud armada was broken, defeated, and demoralized. But as they dropped out of hyperspace near the Draconis homeworld, Rex discovered something that made his blood freeze. Human ships were already there, waiting for them. "Impossible," Rex whispered, staring at the tactical display. 20 human vessels hung in space between his fleet and the planet, their sleek forms dark against the stars. How did they get here? We destroyed all their hyperspace-capable ships. His science officer's voice trembled with fear. "Sir, these are not the same ships we fought at Earth. The design is completely different. It appears they have reverse-engineered our faster-than-light technology and improved it." On the planet's surface, Emperor Thrax stood in his throne room, watching through the great windows as strange fires burned across his capital city. But these were not random fires of destruction. They were precise, controlled burns targeting only military installations, communication centers, and weapons factories. "Report," Thrax demanded as General Vex entered the chamber, his armor scorched and scales blackened with smoke. "My Emperor," Vex said, barely able to stand. "The humans arrived 3 days ago, not with a massive invasion fleet, but with small teams that appeared from nowhere. They struck every military base simultaneously, disabled our planetary defense grid, and captured our primary spaceports." "How many troops did they land?" Thrax asked, claws digging into his throne. "Unknown, my lord. We never saw them coming. Our sensors detected no landing craft, no transport ships. They simply appeared inside our most secure facilities, as if materializing from thin air." The truth was even more impressive than General Vex realized. While the Draconis had been fighting desperately to hold Earth's solar system, human special forces had captured several Draken ships intact. They had not just copied alien technology, they had perfected it. Human engineers had improved Draconis cloaking devices, making them completely undetectable. They had enhanced the teleportation technology Draconis troops used for boarding actions, turning it into a tool for surgical strikes. In 6 months, humanity had taken technology the Draconis had developed over centuries and made it better. In space above the planet, Admiral Rex faced Captain Blake once again. The human officer appeared on his communication screen, still calm and professional despite commanding a force that had somehow reached the heart of the Draconis Empire. "Admiral Rex," Blake said, politely, "I believe we need to discuss terms." "Terms?" Rex snarled, defeat making him desperate. "I still have 150 ships. You have only 20. "Admiral," Blake replied patiently, "look at your tactical display more carefully." Rex glanced at his screens and felt his heart stop. The 20 human ships he could see were surrounded by empty space that somehow registered as solid objects on his sensors. Dozens of cloaked vessels hung invisible around his fleet, weapons already locked onto Dracon targets. "We could destroy your remaining ships right now," Blake continued, "but that would serve no purpose. The war is over, Admiral. The question is, what happens next?" On the planet below, Emperor Thrax faced his own impossible situation. Human soldiers had occupied every major city on the Draconis homeworld, but had done so without killing a single civilian. Military targets were destroyed with surgical precision, but hospitals, schools, and residential areas remained untouched. "They could have killed everyone," General Vex reported in amazement. "Their weapons are powerful enough, to crack our planet's crust, yet they disabled our military and left the population unharmed. I do not understand their strategy. Thrax understood perfectly, and it terrified him more than any threat of destruction. The humans were not conquerors seeking to enslave or destroy their enemies. They were demonstrating something far more dangerous, the power to completely control their opponent's fate. The communication system in the throne room activated, and Emperor Thrax found himself face to face with a human general. The man was older than Captain Blake, with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too much war. Emperor Thrax, the human said, I am General Adams of the Earth Defense Command. We need to talk. You dare address the Emperor of the Draconis Empire as an equal? Thrax roared, his pride making him defiant even in defeat. No, Adams replied calmly. I address you as the former Emperor of a former empire. Your military is destroyed, your fleet captured, and your worlds are under our control. But we are not here to gloat or to rule over you. Thrax leaned forward, confused despite his anger. Then why are you here? To offer you something your empire never offered its enemies, Adams said. A chance to surrender with dignity, a chance to rebuild, a chance to learn from your mistakes. The human general activated a holographic display showing star maps of Draconis space. Red marks indicated worlds that had been captured or controlled, but surprisingly, most of the Empire's territory remained under alien control. We have taken your military capability, Adams explained, but we have no interest in ruling your people. You will withdraw from all conquered worlds and return them to their original inhabitants. You will dismantle your war machine and focus on peaceful development. And you will accept human observers to ensure you keep these agreements. And if we refuse? Thrax asked, though he already knew the answer. Then we will do what you plan to do to Earth, Adams replied simply. But I do not think that will be necessary. Your people are not evil, Emperor. They are simply following leaders who chose conquest over cooperation. Over the following weeks, the galaxy watched in amazement as the Draconis Empire formally surrendered to humanity. The peace treaty that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. Instead of demanding tribute or territory, the humans insisted on education and reform. Human teachers arrived on Draconis worlds to share knowledge of science, medicine, and engineering. Human doctors provided medical care to wounded Draconis soldiers. Human engineers helped rebuild infrastructure damaged during the war. Ambassador Kale of the Altari Federation met with General Adams on a neutral space station where the Galactic Council was holding emergency sessions. The other species watched the humans with a mixture of awe and terror. Your people could have destroyed the Draconis completely, Kale observed. Why show mercy to those who would have shown you none? Adams looked out at the stars through the station's viewport, his expression thoughtful. Because we learned something a long time ago, Ambassador. The strongest civilizations are not the ones that can destroy their enemies. They are the ones that can choose not to. But surely you must want something in return, Kale pressed. Resources? Territory? Tribute? We want peace, Adams replied simply. Real peace. The kind that comes when former enemies become friends. The Draconis are not our enemies anymore. They are our responsibility. The Galactic Council formally recognized humanity as a major power, not through conquest, but through their demonstration of strength tempered by wisdom. Human ships began, patrolling former Draconis space, not as occupiers but as protectors, ensuring that the cycle of conquest and revenge would finally end. In his final report to the Council, Ambassador Kale wrote, "The humans have taught us that true power lies, not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to know when destruction is unnecessary. They have turned their greatest strength, their understanding of war, into their greatest gift, the knowledge of how to build lasting peace. The galaxy had learned why you should never attack humans, not because they were the strongest, but because they understood conflict better than anyone else and had chosen to use that knowledge to protect rather than conquer.